When I was a kid, only about 12 years old, my grandmother asked me what I wanted for Christmas that year, and I already knew that the answer would be a perfume. Dolce & Gabbana The One was my first designer perfume. I remember coming home after the store and smelling the perfume from the bottle for hours that evening, noticing how the smell changes as I was getting used to it. When it was finally time to wear it for the first time during the Christmas dinner, I was very excited. I made a full ritual out of spraying the perfume over myself. To my surprise, after less than an hour of spraying it, I realized that I could not smell it on myself, which made me very frustrated. I expected a very high-end performance, a beast mode soulage, for everyone to smell it on me, and to see me the way I was seeing myself wearing it. At that time, my grandmother was in the kitchen preparing the Christmas dinner, and I ran to her, very upset, almost crying, saying how this perfume was not as good as I supposed it would be. I remember saying, "I am so sorry we spent so much money on this tiny perfume. It's not great quality, I can't smell it." And that was when my grandmother first introduced me to this theory that I keep thinking about up to this day. She said that I was very wrong. The fact that I could not smell a perfume on myself apparently meant that it is the right perfume for me, a perfume that complements me perfectly well, which is exactly why I could not smell it. But to me that didn't make any sense. I thought that my grandmother simply didn't want me to be upset during Christmas Eve. Then it was time for everyone to gather around the table, and my dad came over to my grandmother's flat with his girlfriend back then. And the first time he said after seeing me was, "God, you don't have to spray that much. Did you get a new perfume? You only need one spray, it's very strong." And that was when I knew my grandmother wasn't lying to me. At first, it came to me as a perfect theory of finding a perfect scent. I would go to perfume stores, try on different perfumes, then spray my favorite ones onto my skin to then examine whether I can smell it after a few hours. It was also a mystery. I was very curious to find out how that works in theory. I kept asking myself which part of my body decides and tells me when a perfume is right for me. Is it my nose? Is it my brain or my heart? So I kept asking. I have been asking people working in perfume stores, but not directly. I was still afraid of exposing this unexamined theory and looking foolish. Instead, I would say, "Oh, I really love this one, but I can't smell it on my skin anymore," and wait for the reaction, which in almost all cases would be, "Oh, that means it suits you perfectly well." Back then, I didn't make any other connections to my theory other than the perfumes. Now looking back, I remember noticing all the smells around me, asking myself questions, but for some reason, not relating those to the same theory. At the time, my best friend A was living 4 floors above me, and we would see each other almost every day during summer. I really liked being at her flat. She was 2 years older than me, and she would teach me all sorts of different things. Her family was very strict, so when everybody was at work, A had to cook meals for the whole family, and I would either help or watch. She would also do the cleaning almost every single day. When we were done with her chores, we would usually read magazines. I remember holding my first Cosmopolitan magazine and looking through the glossy pages. It felt like we were doing something forbidden, reading a magazine for grown women. So we had to keep it a secret. We had to keep the magazines very close to ourselves. We would even hide under the table with a light torch if anybody else was home. The smell of sizzling sunflower oil, house cleaning chemistry, and a freshly opened Cosmopolitan had mixed into this mesmerizing perfume that I did not realize at the time. Any time we went out with A, I would get a strong hint of that perfume, which I actually really loved. I would also feel it for a few minutes after entering her flat. At one point, I told A that I really loved the way her flat smells, and she looked at me weirdly saying, "Smell? It doesn't smell of anything here." I was very confused and I said that it does, and in fact, it's a very pleasing and comforting smell. A said that perhaps she and her family can't smell it because it's their flat, and she also added, "For example, you can't smell your own flat, can you?" And that made me very surprised because I was always so jealous of her flat smell, convinced that my flat does not smell of anything. But she convinced me otherwise. The sense of smell is very complex and it's closely related to other senses, like vision. In fact, it's so complex that scientists who make any progress in researching olfaction and nose's relationship with the brain get awarded with the Nobel Prize. I never wanted a Nobel Prize, but I did want to find out how my grandmother's theory works and why some smells become invisible to our noses. Because even the smell of A's flat became impossible to detect for me after a while. Thinking of the theory that my grandmother had introduced, I was sure that there must be a scientific explanation to it. However, there wasn't. So I had to create my own. My theory of the smell of comfort states that when one can't feel a certain present smell, for example a perfume, it's due to that smell not holding any danger for the individual. For example, an individual sprays Shalimar and feels the strong scent of the perfume through the whole day, which usually provides constant headaches and stops the smell from being appealing to the person. In fact, the individual is allergic to jasmine, which is one of the ingredients of Shalimar. So their body is constantly reminding them that this perfume is not suitable, as it may cause an allergic reaction, a headache, difficulties breathing, and fatigue. Although, if none of the ingredients are potential allergens or are dangerous for the individual in any other way, the brain will simply stop reminding the person to put that perfume away, and instead will focus on other smells that might mean danger, for instance, fire fumes or harsh chemicals. This theory goes back to primal senses and instincts and makes perfect sense when thinking of my childhood's friend. Her home was a place of comfort that never held any danger. That's why her brain got used to that smell, and so did mine. And maybe that's why I developed a high sensitivity towards Miss 60 after my mother had left. It was a perfume she would wear, but it didn't provide the association of comfort to me anymore, but rather sad memories full of unanswered questions and a little bit of anger.
And if there's nothing dangerous, nothing bad in that perfume, the brain just ignores it to then detect other dangerous smells.
Well, it's funny you're saying that because we had a guy, a customer, a regular customer, and he's very much into the. I can't remember what he did tell me what he was like a lecturer, and he did tell me what he did. Mm-hmm. I'm not academic, so that kind of thing just goes over my. But he said he'd studied fragrance. He said if you look at nature. If we were in the wild, we would have to be able to pick up certain scents.
Yeah.
Because and certain things would depict danger, like fire, and certain things. So it does make sense that certain things would jar on us. That certain things would, like you say, would mean something quite bad is coming our way or something. But, or that don't go near that. That's gonna. So it does kind of. He had this whole thing that if you think of animals. They're so sensitive to smell because it's one of their.
You have to have it.
So maybe we've just forgotten about it.
I think so.
And we don't use it like that anymore because we don't live in that environment.
Yeah, we've got internet. We can read all about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it would make sense.
Yeah.
That was the whole point of it.
Exactly.
And animals as well scent each other.
Yeah.
So they know who they are by their scent. Kind of.
And I think things that they sense the most is danger.
Yeah.
And
They
when they're
have to
hunting
get
as
away
well.
from it. Yeah,
Yeah.
like another animal. But also, even their little family groups, they know their family.
Yeah.
Even though they all look the same to us.
That is so
Do
fascinating.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It made perfect sense to me, and that we would probably forget about it, but we do get the odd
Yeah.
tinge of it.
And I think even if you love a perfume, as you said, and then you keep smelling it the whole day, 2 days in a row, it just kind of, it doesn't appeal to you as much. And sometimes
That's
just,
why I always have to have. I never wear I always try and wear something different.
Yeah.
I have my staples, which
Yeah.
I always put Molecule on because I always get comments on that, but I don't smell it, so it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
But everything else, I don't know.
yeah. And
But
I
you were
remember-
happy in that place.
Yeah.
So you were happy. So it's funny, I suppose, if you weren't happy going in that place, those smells may not have been something that you necessarily enjoy. So it's all about the whole thing, isn't it? The bigger picture, that
relationship as well,
person,
yeah.
their home, and you going there and being allowed to be you, I suppose. Like treating you like a grown-up, reading magazines.
Yeah, it's interesting because you said it. I always wanted to be someone like her.
Yeah.
I was always looking up to her, and I always thought, oh, she's so feminine. She's so amazing. She cleans, she cooks, and then she does her nails. She reads the magazine. I want to be that.
Yeah.
But I'm 12.
Oh, but we all aspire to something, don't we?
Yeah.
So that's what it is. It's that smell. It's like I have. She's got rid of it now. It's heartbreaking. I lived with this amazing woman who she's a musician in Streatham when I first split with my then partner, and I moved into this just down the road. I just went there one evening because I was fed up with looking for somewhere to live.
Yeah.
So I moved in with her. I didn't want to live in our house anymore. I decided it was, time for a fresh start. So I moved in with this woman, Ellie, and she's now become a lifelong friend. But her car, she had this cracked out old banger of a car. I don't know how old it was. Her life was in it most of the time because she was a teacher, but she was also a travelling musician. She played the violin. When I was in that car, I don't know what it was. Because it was an old car, they have a very specific smell. So it was the car itself, then the smell of the wax and that from the violins, and this leather smell. I love that car. I just love being in that car.
I can imagine that
It's an
smell.
old
That
conked
must have
out.
been amazing.
I can smell it now.
Yeah.
When I think about it.
Yeah.
But that was one of the smells, and her, and she got rid of it, and I was like, she's got this new sports car. She came into money, and I was like, when she said it, I said, oh my god.
Should have kept the car.
I would have had that car just to sit in. I can't drive, but I would have sat. But it's amazing how it's the same thing. She to me was just this free spirit. Amazingly talented, so cool without even trying to be cool. And she taught me a lot in life as well because I was quite in a relationship.
Yeah.
You had to, nice house, and I learned that it wasn't had to be like that. But that smell,
That's
I wish it could
incredible.
be, but I know it's just the closest I've ever found to it. I kind of mix it. Is Tabac by Maya. It's kind of, but not quite because you can't replicate a
You can't really
banged
replicate
out old
it.
car.
Yeah. It's just in your memory.
Yeah, it's just there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the closest, so I sleep back.